Hello, my loves. This is Johanna Burkhardt. I am a multidimensional channel, teacher, healer, and author. And I am obsessed with all things metaphysical, esoteric, galactic, and of course, the healing journey. And I'm here to share my stories, my wisdom, and my teachings about being human in the illusion that we call reality. Welcome to Cosmic Blonde. Hello, my loves. Welcome back to another episode of Cosmic Blonde. You guys have all heard my thousands and thousands of stories about my life and my transformation and my relationships. And you all know that relationships are my Achilles heel and have been the thing that have transformed me the most. So I thought, what better than to bring on a man who is going to give us more of a divine masculine perspective and kind of hear his story. And he's from my hometown. He's back in San Diego, which makes me a little jealous. But nevertheless, Joshua Tipton is a men's relationship coach, a father, a seasoned leader with over 15 years of experience in public speaking, sales coaching, and personal development. At 47, he brings a grounded and mature perspective to his work, helping men lead with emotional clarity, relationship integrity, and inner strength. After years of coaching in the business world, Josh's personal journey through challenging relationships and their responsibilities of fatherhood in led him to focus on deeper work of emotional growth and masculine self-leadership. And as a father of a 15-year-old daughter, he is deeply committed to modeling presence, accountability, and meaningful connection. Today, he works one on one with men who are ready to break old patterns, build authentic relationships, and show up more fully in every area of life. His approach blends lived experience with practical guidance to support lasting personal transformation. Welcome, Josh, to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Super excited to be here.
I know. So let's start at the beginning. Like, who were you before you kind of stepped in and did this emotional work? Because just reading that bio is like, God dang, is that needed in this world right now? As someone who's out there dating, good Lord, are you needed, sir? You are needed. So kind of tell us who you were before and how you kind of transformed.
Well, yeah, thank you. My journey probably started, I'd guess around 12 years ago, maybe more. It becomes a little bit blurry as the years go past. But I had been in like typical men. I had been in, some decent relationships. I had been in some very toxic relationships. Um, I had been the toxic person, right? I had been the one with the narcissistic tendencies. I had been the codependent one. I had really, I thought the entire gamut. Like I walked in some form, as most of us do. Um, there are, and we'll probably dive into this later, but the buzzwords that are thrown around, like they're static, like it's a tattoo on somebody's forehead. Oh, he's codependent. We're not static. We change, but
Yeah.
I don't want to get too divergent off the story because I tend to talk. And so I had my daughter's mother and I had separated, and I began dating, and I met the kindest, most gentle person in the world. And we ended up spending 7 years together. We basically raised our children together, but we were always a miss. And not they're just we just didn't line up on things. And she gave me the greatest gift I've ever been given, and that was like the introduction into growth, right? She was very kind and very soft, but a little bit passive aggressive.
Hmm.
No one's perfect, right? No one's I look back on this relationship in like the absolute highest regards, right? But I was that bull in the china shop, like I would completely bull through her kindness and disregard things. And she gave me the gift, right? She started emailing me stuff. Hey, why don't you check this podcast out? Why don't you read this article? And I did the typical guy thing. And the typical guy thing I want to get into later because it'll kind of give insight into our mentality and our conditioning, really. But I was, oh, this is bullshit. Hocus pocus. This is, this is a bunch of pansies over here talking about their feelings. This is some hip, the typical, like,
Pride,
the false alpha male,
yeah,
right?
the false
Like
alpha male. That's a good
that,
way to say
that
it.
was my reaction. Um, and then I came across, she sent me a podcast from a guy and she goes, hey, I really think you should give this a chance. Um, and I think you should really give it a fair listen. Oh, and I did. It was a gentleman by the name of Jason Gaddis. He still is very much a leader in the growth and relationship space. His author. He actually has some really in-depth training programs that he does for coaches. Just great guy. Anyway, he once I was exposed to him, it was the first time that I heard a man speaking about emotions and being vulnerable without being weak.
What made him not sound weak? A
Um,
curiosity.
so I mean, for me personally, I'm listening to his um a psychologist, and I forget who it was, but this is one of the very first episodes, and they were talking about if I recall, I think they were talking about like weaponized victimhood like type
Hmm.
stuff, and I'm sitting there listening and I'm like, okay, I get it, I get it, I get it. And Jason said something to the point of like, you know what, guys, you just got to own your shit. And I'm like, oh, this is my guy.
Yeah,
Right, this is my guy. Like, wait a minute, like you can be direct and you can be blunt and you can be all those things, but still do it in a caring, constructive manner. I'm like, holy shit, it was like mind blowing.
yeah,
Literally, I heard the man say, own your shit. And I was like, oh, this is it.
yeah,
Right. So I started really kind of diving in. And then, he opened up a lot of doors. Some of the authors that he would have on his show, I would dive into their work. Harville Hendricks. That I read his book, and that was mind blowing. I mean, it absolutely ripped scabs off of me that I didn't even know I had.
right.
And to kind of get back to it, that relationship is what started it. I didn't know, like she gave me this gift of, hey, you need to expose yourself to this, and I did, and I just dove in. Um, and then the lessons started happening that like, holy shit, growth hurts.
It does.
It hurts bad. And then the second lesson that came, and as I was devouring this information and learning these things about myself, is that if you're not with a partner that's attacking it with the same like fierceness, that
Yeah,
hurts too.
it does.
And it's funny because I will, like, if I recommend reading to somebody, hey, you should check this book out. It always comes with like a disclaimer. Get ready. If you really absorb this stuff,
Yeah,
you're going to find out that you're speaking a different language now.
right.
You read a book or take a course on communication, and then you're around people that don't actually know how to communicate.
It tests everything in you. Everything,
It
everything in you.
it brings up demons you didn't know you had, like
Yeah,
a level of frustration that you just didn't even know existed. And so, even in my practice, if I recommend a book and hey, I want to I want you to read this because I want to discuss this type of stuff with you and, kind of get your feedback, see what you feel. Because it's funny. I found with men, I'll jump off a little bit. I found with men, if you can get them talking about a subject and they're talking about themselves, but they don't realize it, all of a
yeah,
sudden they open up a lot more, you
yeah.
know. Um, so, but again, it's a disclaimer. Growth hurts. Relationship hurts. It triggers. It should. Like
Well, that's
if
the whole
it
point. I always say relationships are of all kinds, your children, your parents, your friends, but your romantic partners in particular, they're a mirror of what you don't want to look at
Absolutely.
within yourself. And that's sometimes that's the whole thing is it is meant to be triggering. You're not meant to take it personal, but it is meant to trigger because it's pushing on something that already lives inside of you. They're not doing anything to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It is, when and we'll probably get into it later on after, deeper into the podcast. But like, as you start to I had this conversation with another coach. She's actually a colleague of mine today. That we kind of coach each other. Like we'll throw stuff back and forth, right? Free session type thing.
Yeah.
And we were talking about a particular scenario, and I just kind of stopped and I go, hey, listen, like, you have all these understandings interpersonally, this is why you're here. This is, where you're going with it. These are your goals, but you and I both let other people still affect us. Have you taken the time to stop? And we were talking parentally, right? Have you taken the time to stop and apply these things you've learned about yourself and open up that window to them? And it was like, oh, parents that, like, and of course we know, right? But
Yeah.
that's another, it's all the high value relationships, right?
Hmm.
Children, parents, close friends, lovers, um siblings, they're gonna trigger you. and
Yeah.
and you kind of gotta, you this is the hard part, is you have to treat them the way that you would like. you know I try not to use buzzwords, especially with men, because it turns them off. But you got to protect their inner child the way you'd like your inner child protected,
Yeah.
right?
It's also grace. It's grace and acceptance of where they are in their journey because, as someone who's done the work, you've done the work, you know how much work it takes, and not everybody's willing to do that. So can you
Right,
love and accept them for where they are and not take it as a personal attack?
right. Most people are, you come to a realization that most people are operating emotionally at their capacity.
Yep.
They just don't have anything. No, I won't say that they don't have anything left. They don't know how to access what's left,
Yeah.
right? They just don't have the tools. They don't have the tools to communicate. They don't have the tools to express, to reframe. Reframing scenarios is insanely powerful. And yeah, we kind of got off, but yeah, that's my story.
Yeah.
That's my story, from a relationship standpoint. So I really got in, we'll go back, sorry. I really got into growth and relationship and interpersonal relationship, um, from a personal level. And then I have all this information, and I found myself, after that first relationship ended, I found myself just getting into really, really toxic relationships. Um, and I'm looking, going, you fell off your path, Josh. Like, these things. You know how to navigate these things within yourself, within other people. Like, you fell off your path. And professionally, I was doing public speaking and sales training and sales coaching. I still do that. And it just kind of, as I started to get back on my path and go, wait a minute, this isn't the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Somebody with your skill set is not supposed to live like this or allow this type of interaction with anybody. I started, I'm working, I've got this online Facebook group, and I'm starting to write blogs and contribute weekly. And, I felt like a failure, right? Like, men are not responding. I'm doing long form blogs. But what had happened is I started to get like DMs, people that were reaching out directly to me. And, we started talking through their stuff, and I realized, like, hey, these guys are just as shut down as I was,
Yeah.
12 years ago. Like, they're not willing to comment publicly. They're not willing to speak publicly, but they were coming to me. They were craving the outlet, right? And so
Yeah.
they would do it on a one-on-one basis. And that started to be more prevalent. It started to happen often. And so, um, the other thing that was kind of happening parallel to that is when I started the online men's group, all of a sudden I start interacting with
um, what I call healers,
Mm-hmm.
right? So regardless of what it, what it is, if people that are doing sound healing, people that are counselors, people that are coaches, all of a sudden they're like gravitating into my universe, into my energy fields. And I referred, when I took note of it, I referred to it as your tribe will find you,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And it was the perfect storm. It was the perfect storm. So I jumped in. I started Elemental Male Coaching, built the site, started to do promotion, and almost instantly, literally instantly, I'm doing discovery calls with clients. And I wouldn't say that it is going to replace my career, but I don't need to monetize what I'm doing. It's great. It's a passion project, and I
Yeah.
absolutely love doing it.
That's amazing. And you have to start somewhere. And for me, like what I always tell people is, I haven't reached the income level that I want yet, but I can't do anything else. This is a calling on my heart.
Yeah.
And you have to answer that call. And if you don't, you literally feel that depth, like you feel that missing piece of you. Like you have to do that.
Yeah. It's not a choice anymore.
Yeah.
I'll find myself at work, and I got one hand on a keyboard and the other hand on a phone, but my mind is like strategizing about a session that I have with a client after work, or um building the next digital product, whatever it may be. And you're right, it like you
Yeah.
can't not, once
Yeah.
you realize this is what you're supposed to do, you can't not do it.
No, and it's like when we go through awakenings, right? And an awakening is just becoming more self-aware. And so I always say, like, once you open that door, which that woman did for you, right? She opened that door for you. It's Pandora's box. You can't close it. There's no way to close it once you open it.
No,
So
yeah.
you just have to go through the process. But I wanted to touch back on something that you had mentioned. You said you had gone into a bunch of toxic relationships.
Yes.
What I have found for myself, so I'm interested to hear your perspective. I was attracting those partners to give me an opportunity to choose differently because we have to build new neural pathways, and that requires repetition of choosing different than what you would have chosen before, and recognizing like
Right.
I'm not choosing this guy, or I'm not chasing after this guy or wanting him to choose me because I actually like him. It's because I want my dad to choose me, right? It came back to my childhood wounds.
100%.
And so I started noticing that. And so like I've become a serial dater. I'm actually taking a break right now, but
Mhm.
I mean over the last year I've probably been on 35 dates. But it's
Right.
because I do work and then I'm like, okay, let me see what I attract. And then whatever shows up, whatever it triggers, I'm like, cool, like this is awesome. Thank you for triggering that. I need to work on this a little bit more, or I need to work on this a little bit more. And I just keep choosing me and keep choosing me and keep going, oh, this isn't about him. This is about dad, or this is about mom. And so did you have that awareness when you were attracting all of these toxic relationships? Like, did you realize what you were actually attracted to?
I Yes, but again, what happens is you start pushing stuff into the sub, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's comfortable.
Yeah.
Um, and it's I did know what was going on, but you get into a state of denial, right? Now, I call it living out of alignment, right? Living in your ego,
Yeah.
because a lot of times you'll find that those toxic people, it's an ego play, right?
Oh, 100%.
It is totally like, this person has these possessions or looks this certain way or brings this type of image. And then you go home and you're like, this is crap. Like,
Yeah.
what is going on here? It's from like men, like we don't really, I hate to generalize, but as a rule of thumb, like we don't talk about how fucking lonely it is being in a toxic relationship, right? We're taught to be stoic. We're taught to stand alone. We're taught to grind through it, go to work. It's your job, son. This is what you do. If you don't acknowledge it, you can't fix it,
Yeah.
you know? But I would like to say, yes, Johanna, I was 100% aware of what was going on. I was aware, but I was in denial. I allowed it to happen. Um, I won't look back and villainize any partner because I kind of have a practice, right? So like, um, I coach. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I make mistakes
Yes.
every day, right? But how do you handle your mistakes, right? That's your watermark. That's the litmus test, right? And even when you handle them improperly, how do you like digest them, right? So one of the things that I do is that I will go back after the emotion is out of it, and I'll start working on I statements, right? And not I statements of in like that are taught in relationship communication. Those are super powerful too. It's a huge tool to disarm an argument. But I'll start looking at I statements like, really what I'm trying to get to is what did I play into that scenario? What did I bring in that could have been handled differently? Right. Because I'm a firm believer that if you're trying to solve a problem, you can't fix people, but you can fix yourself. So in any scenario, accountability, right? What did I do? How can I be better in that space? And I also know I'm going to fail a million times more, but I'm not going to beat myself up over that. Because we're human beings, and we are dealing with wounds and scars from our past, our present. Like every day, everything you encounter touches your soul. It leaves a mark on your soul, and you're processing that stuff. So you can't beat yourself up, but I look back at those toxic relationships, back to your question, and I go, what did I allow? Right? Why did I allow that? What was it providing? What was it giving you? Yeah, exactly. Like, why was I okay with being stuck?
Yeah.
And when you start unraveling those things, then all of a sudden, like you said, like you made a statement that you just keep choosing you. And so that is the most powerful thing you can do. I wrote a piece about a week ago on codependency. And again, because it was directed to men, I can't say, hey, it's codependency, because those buzzwords, those tags they shut men down. So, the article that I wrote was titled, I believe it was like, you have to feed yourself before you can feed someone else. Right. Mm-hmm. And it literally like broke down into that. If you're continually over functioning in a relationship, one, it's counterproductive. Two, it's very unattractive to your partner. It's the absolute biggest turnoff for men or women, is somebody that's an over functioning, overbearing. You're trying to serve, but you're becoming overbearing by over functioning. And that it was, the whole premise of it was exactly what you said, Johanna, is choose yourself. Like, don't abandon your partner, but you have to fill your bucket before you can fill anybody else's.
Yeah. I always say you can still consider other people, but if you're not the first person that you consider in the people, then there's a problem.
There's a problem. Absolutely.
Like, you're a part of that.
You are inviting the toxic in if you're not. And there's so many different ways that people neglect themselves, whether it's physically, emotionally, financially. You allow that.
Yeah.
And kind of part of what I do is helping people get to that point of, okay, let's discover first, like, what did you allow? Let's discover why you allowed it. Let's accept that it's fact. And then how are we going to move forward? Right?
What are you going to do different next time?
What are you going to do different next time?
Yeah.
And now that you know why you did it, like, how are you going to, how are you going to handle those triggers? Right. So like, I have a little saying, and I probably have picked it up from tidbits of somewhere, a million different pieces of information that I've collected over time. But I don't believe that anger is an emotion. Right. Anger, to me, is a byproduct of being hurt or being scared. It's not an emotion.
I say anger is grief's bodyguard.
You're protecting yourself.
Yeah. It's just, it's armor.
Right. It's armor.
But it
right?
can
And
also, I mean, I can see how you could say that, but I also think that anger can also be a liberator. I think anger sometimes is meant to fuel you almost like a catapult, you know, like people get pissed and then they end the relationship or they quit their job or they shift gears. And so anger can also be a catapult. But it depends on majority of the time people use it as armor.
yeah, and I'm not an opponent of anger.
Yeah.
Anger's great,
Oh,
right?
I think it's important.
It's so important. So that's the thing that's one thing that comes up a lot is there's a lot of shame and emotion, right? And for men in particular, there's shame and emotion, there's shame and anger. You know, like from a societal standpoint, we're taught to be angry, and then there's shame in it, and it's like, no, no, absolutely
I think
not.
it's a matter of how, because I mean, I most of my first, all three of my marriages, um, were men who had anger issues. My
Hmm.
kids both had anger issues.
Hmm.
Funny enough, it made me finally realize they're all mirroring back anger that I don't see inside of me. I couldn't find it, right? So when I did, I
Hmm.
was like, oh shit. But two, it's also the way that the person handles their anger.
Right.
So if you're throwing shit at the wall or beating your wife, that's not a great way to use your anger
No, no, absolutely. That's it. And, and
or
that
cutting her
is
down.
right, right. 100%. It is, but I think stuff like that, Johanna, stems from like the fact that there is shame around anger.
Yeah.
We're taught to stay in line, don't raise your voice, don't be this, don't be that, right? Um, what if we lived in a world where everybody just sat with their anger? Hey,
That would
it's
be
okay to be mad.
amazing.
It's okay to be mad. It's part
Yeah.
of you. You can't cut a part of you out and be
No.
complete, right? So, hey, Johanna, it's okay to be mad. Let me sit with you. Scream. Let's scream together.
Yeah.
God, feel it. Feel it. Get it out. Where'd it come from? Now we can
Yeah.
work with it,
Yeah.
right? You know, um,
But you have to, I tell my clients the same thing. My personal favorite thing to do when I'm pissed off, when I'm really angry, is I
mm,
roll up all of my windows, I drive with the music blaring, and I fucking scream until I start to cry, until it
yeah,
breaks.
we may be twins.
Let me take a minute and share with you my new community membership called Evolve. Evolve is an all access pass that includes over 52 digital products, 10 of which are full length digital courses valued well over $15,000. And honestly, the courses is just the icing on the cake. The real point of this community is for us to grow and evolve together. So this includes a monthly Zoom meetup call with everybody that's in the membership to allow for you to have hot seat coaching, for you to share what's coming up for you so that we may hold space for you. You can ask your guides questions, anything that you need during that time, you get the floor. You also get a community chat. So if you're struggling, if you have a question about the energy, it's knowing that you are connected to not just me, but a community of like-minded individuals. And as a bonus, you get 50% off all of my services and early access to my third solo book that is not yet published. Please check out Evolve, see if it's a great fit for you. If you choose the yearly option, there is 4 remaining spaces as I record this to receive a 90-minute free Quantum Soul session with me, which is an additional $350 value. This offer, this bonus offer, will be removed from the landing page when all spots are filled, when all free 90-minute sessions are taken. Let's get back to the podcast.
Yeah, I'm a road warrior. I jump in the car, I turn the music up.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we're from similar, um, you know, geographically, we're from the same town. So,
Yeah.
the other night I had a moment where I was just getting overwhelmed. I could not regulate myself. Through like more like passive measures. And I was like, hey, I got to check out. I got in the car. I turned the music up. I drove out to Lake Marina. I get to the lake. I turn around and I feel amazing. Like I
Yeah.
was able to release it.
Oh, yeah.
Um, but that's the thing. Like that's what works for me. Yoga works for some people. Hey, breath of
Yeah.
fire works for some people.
Well, I do love me
Um,
some breath of fire.
box breathing, right? Which
Yeah.
they're oddly similar, aren't they?
They are similar.
um, you know, but you got to find what is going to regulate your nervous system in a rapid manner where you can then think about, come out of the emotion and go
Yeah.
into like the thought and work with what you were given. Anger is a gift. Sadness
Yeah.
and grief are a gift. It's all a gift.
Yes. And you have to
um
feel it to heal it.
you got it. Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. That resonates like deeply with me. You got to feel
And
it to heal it.
and it's different. It's going to be for every single person, not just men, but for every single person, how you process your anger is going to be different. And at what point, like, and each time you're angry, it could be something different. So some people run, some people have punching bags in their garage and box,
Mhm.
you know? It's just a matter of, but you have to start somewhere and you have to
Yes.
start trying things.
Yes.
It's never okay to take out your emotions on someone else. It is
No.
okay to sit with them. It is okay to have someone hold space for you. But the thing that I think I talk about this a lot. I hope one day in schools we teach children how to express their emotions, how to become emotionally intelligent, because emotional intelligence is developed between the ages of 8 and 15. This is when we
Right.
learn what our emotions are, how to process them, and that's a big issue. And that I think in that age range, especially men, especially boys, don't be a sissy, right? Stop
Hmm.
crying, whatever. Like,
Right.
I feel like that's where a lot of that shame you were talking about, because it's easier for girls to get away with that during that age range, but boys, they're considered babies or sissies, and that's
Right.
where I think a lot of that shame comes from.
Yeah. No. And absolutely. And it's not just the suppression of quote unquote feminine emotions, which like I don't like. I don't like the delineations at all. But I was talking the other day and something hit me. We were talking about men and emotional processing, and I go off on these tangents mentally, like in the middle of a conversation. And I was thinking about it. I was like, well, why do you see men crying at accomplishments, sporting events, at graduations, right? At um, award ceremonies. Like men will cry through those,
Yeah.
especially the sporting events, right? Like seeing either being praised or getting adoration from your peers. Like I see men break down all the time,
Yeah.
right? It's because they don't, like, literally it is so foreign to them to feel that praise that it just breaks them,
Yeah.
right? It is so foreign for men to feel actual praise. And
Well,
so when
and
they,
joy is the biggest healer there is out of everything. So when
isn't
someone's
it?
heart is broken wide open in joy, it just starts to flow.
Yeah, you can't stop it. It's
Mm-mm.
Niagara Falls, right?
Yeah.
But the we're not taught to process that.
Yeah.
We're not taught to process our anger, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I remember being like a little, like, I'd say elementary school age. Oh, you guys got a problem? Go out back and handle it.
Because that's the
Okay.
right way to do it.
And there's a time and place for that.
Sure.
Like, by no means am I a pacifist, and nor would I ever like encourage anybody to be a pacifist. I think, again, I don't believe in limiting yourself in any way. You have to, in order to be complete, you have to have some ugly in you, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's rainbows, but like that. That's how we're taught. Hey, you're upset with your little brother. Go out back and handle it. Well, guess
Yeah.
what? If that's the only tool we understand, guess what happens when we're upset with our girlfriend?
Right.
When we're upset with our wives, or we're upset with our children, we go out back and handle it because and it's terrible, and they're just not equipped. They're not
Yeah.
equipped. Um, and that's just the childhood type stuff. It's not even getting into, the misunderstanding of what masculinity and femininity are.
So
The
let's talk about that.
Okay.
What is you give me? I mean, everybody's going to have their different interpretations, so I want to hear what your interpretation is of the divine masculine and divine feminine versus
Okay.
like wounded masculine, wounded feminine, which most people are familiar with.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the divine masculine has presence, right? The ability to show up, the awareness of the environment, the emotional intelligence to sit within himself, to sit with people that he cares about. Purpose. You can't, you cannot reach your highest potential without a purpose. You just can't. You can't bounce around like a pinball and reach your potential as a man, as a woman, as anything. You have to have something that you're working towards. Integrity, strength, the discipline to keep going. All these things kind of feed into each other.
Would you consider being able to lead themselves in a relationship divine masculine?
Absolutely, it is the core and the
Yeah.
absolute necessity. Um,
Because you can't lead another if you can't lead yourself, by the way.
so that's why I was keeping leading towards the end, because all of those things are, all of the other things are required for you to lead, and you
Yeah.
hit it 100%. And but I feel like it's irresponsible not to go deeper on this, Johanna, because
Let's go deeper
um
then.
well, yeah, because here's the thing, like in what I see, and I've been a victim of this, a self victim of this as well. I get online, and my feed is all masculine, hey, empowered, right? And I'm looking at this, and yeah, this is great. And then I step back and I go, man, this is bullshit. Like, I just got an endorphin hit. Like, this is pandering, right? And so leadership, and especially there's a lot of coaches online that'll talk about leadership within a relationship, and what they're actually describing is a tyrant,
Yeah.
right? So um
I feel like there's a difference between an alpha male and a divine masculine. The alpha male is still working from his ego, in my opinion.
there's no such thing as an alpha male.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's
Yeah. It's bullshit.
it's ego, it's controlling, and it's not divine masculine. It's not. And
Yeah.
it's annoying when
what
people think that.
what men have been told is the alpha is a man child.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a man child. It's the um it,
It's wounded.
it's
They're
wounded. Yeah, it's a
wounded.
wounded
Yeah.
masculine. I had a friend, we were sitting down, we're having dinner, and she asked me, she goes, well, what's your biggest red flag? And I go, oh, without a doubt, easily, it's the wounded feminine, right? But it should be. And your biggest red flag should be the wounded masculine, right? The
Yeah.
guy that is, the chest
Portraying.
pounder, the
Yeah.
peacocker, right? The like leading in anything is not coming in and being a berserker, right? It's not being
No.
a tyrant. It is having direction,
Yeah.
right? It's providing direction. It's providing a safe place for yourself and
That's it right there.
the people around you to collectively move in a direction. That
Yeah.
is leadership,
Yeah.
right? And then in addition to that, and here's where like it gets back into like the traditional masculine roles, right? And I often use sports analogies to explain this, but like leadership is not ego, okay? It is not, hey, look what I did. And you see a lot of men that are that way. That's the wounded masculine, right? A leader in any scenario, whether it be sports, business, relationship, is the one that doesn't want the praise, but will take all the goddamn blame,
Yeah.
right? When
They don't want to be on the pedestal.
No, you don't
No.
want to be on the pedestal, but you'll
Mm-mm.
damn sure shoulder the burden,
Yes.
right?
100%.
And not in a codependent, I'm giving myself up way, but this is what I'm built for,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
That is it's funny because the elemental male framework is the divine masculine. I just don't use the word divine masculine because it turns men off. It shuts
Yeah.
them down. They're like, oh, that's all that mystical mumbo jumbo. Well,
The woo woo.
The woo woo, right? It's so funny. Like I get that so much.
Which is me. I'm known as the woo woo queen.
Yeah, but so here's the thing. Like if you reframe some of this stuff into things that are digestible, right?
Yeah.
Like one of the big triggers I find when I'm talking to men is like, oh yeah, my girlfriend, she's all into astrology, that woo woo. And then I'm like, okay. So I've had this conversation. I'm like, you know that we're like electrical beings, right? Everything we like, every movement, every thought, it's just an electrical impulse. Oh yeah, I know that. Oh, okay, cool. Right. You know about electromagnetism, right? Oh yeah. Okay, cool.
You're totally breaking that shit down.
Oh yeah, because this is how guys' brains work. If you put that sissy label on it, I'm not listening. But now you turn it into like a physical, like tactile scenario, right? And
Yeah,
then
more
and then
scientific.
you go, whew, you know that the moon, yeah, they like pretty much controls tides and weather and oh yeah, I'm not an idiot. I know that. Oh, okay, cool. Okay, cool. You know that the stars were used for navigation, right? So like oh yeah, I know. I'm like,
I would love to be a fly on the wall in these conversations.
yeah. And so then I go, okay, so you're trying to tell me that you think that we are electric beings. All right. We've already established that. Thank you for giving it to me. We are then affected by electromagnetism. Yes. Okay, great. So you've also agreed that there's a ton of electromagnetism in our environment and it changes. Yes. Okay, great. You're even kind of agreeing that it changes with lunar patterns. Okay, great. So you mean to tell me that in our development in the gestation period of 9 months that these electrical beings are not going to be their development is not going to be influenced by the lunar patterns? Oh, okay, I can see how that happens. Okay, and then you said you understand that the stars are, used to navigate. So it's a roadmap to track where everything was in the sky. Yeah. Oh, great. You love astrology. you know, so
I speak to the money. I say millionaires don't use astrology, but billionaires do. So if they do
right,
it, I'm pretty sure it's okay.
right. Yeah, there's a lot of disarming of men, so like one of the things too, like if I was going to teach box breathing, right, I'm not going to go where, and I work with female clients as well, right? I just my niche is men. With a female client, I can say, hey, listen, have you ever done box breathing? I feel like you're maybe a little dysregulated and I think this would help. And they'll go, okay, cool, let's try.
Yeah.
If I take that same approach with men, they're shut down. Box breathing, more woo woo, right? Um, but if I go, hey, will you breathe with me? Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. Inhale for 4. Then when they're
Yeah.
done, right? Okay, hey, listen, I can see your physical change in you. You feel like you're more open to receive. Do you feel better? Yeah. Okay, cool. Hey, that was box breathing. Maybe we should take this home and try it as a regulation method. I have to go around backwards with men a lot of
Yeah, that
times,
makes sense. It does.
you know. Uh yeah, so the divine masculine, it's one of my favorite topics, to be honest with you, and it runs with like the divine feminine. Obviously there's that yin and yang, and one of the things that I've noticed about myself, I'm sorry, one of the things I've noticed about myself is that like I don't heal with masculine energy. I am supported, I am strong, I feel the brotherhood, I feel all of that. But healing for me in particular, and I feel like if a lot of men got to the core of what they are, the healing comes from the feminine.
The divine feminine is about receiving. It's about stillness.
Mm-hmm.
It's about just receiving is a generalized word because it's acceptance, it's feeling, it's allowing, it's all of those things. But women in general, as a look going way, way back to like ISIS and the pyramid days and all of that, like sex for a woman is taking on the trauma, the pain from a man and transmuting it, right? Woman can take anything that a man makes and amplify it and magnetize it because if she's in her divine, now, if is the word, if she's in her divine
Mhm.
feminine, because she's in the energy of receiving and allowing, and that is magnetic and that is expansive. And so each person, which you know, has masculine and feminine. So in order to
Yes.
heal, you have to lean back. You have to be able to sit in stillness. You have to be able to receive from yourself at the very least.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that is key is that, and I think for men and women to understand is that you can't both occupy the same space at the same time.
No, nor should you, because that's a turn off and a
It,
half right there.
it's a turn off. It's. I mean, I know that you know the 5 stages of relationship development, right?
Yeah.
Why do we always get stuck in the power struggle? Because we're occupying the same space. You either have a feminine man, emotionally feminine man, right, that is forcing his partner into the masculine, right? Or
Yeah.
you have an overly masculine woman that is forcing her partner into the feminine. And what happens is it becomes that push pull, right?
Yeah.
Well, with two opposing forces, we all end up in the middle, right? And now we're both this like 50-50 amalgamation of nothingness because it's not going anywhere anymore,
Yeah.
right? And I don't know if you've experienced this or if you can attest to this, but what I see a lot of times when I do get into like the relationship space is that you have a woman saying, I just want my man to lead. But every time she does, she's kicking his ass, and then vice versa. I just want my woman to be soft. Well, how safe are you making her?
Exactly.
And I'm not saying like, is your house, this is where guys just fall short. It's not, well, I protect her. Yeah, no kidding, guy. Like, you're bigger than she is. That's your job. Like, that's
Well,
bare
not all
minimum.
men will
But
do
that's
that
not what,
either.
yeah, that's not what safety means,
No.
right? Like, safe to express yourself, safe to know, hey, listen, I have a thing, and I sidetrack so much, but like, if I love somebody, I love their shit and their shine.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So, but that has to be expressed, right? You have to be able to come to me in all of your glorious chaos,
All your
be,
forms.
all of it, and be received.
Yeah.
And, most of the time, my response should simply be,
Okay. I'm
okay,
here.
you
Yeah.
stole my response. Okay,
Well,
I'm
I mean,
here.
that's the whole thing. Like, I always tell men, like, I actually tell men from the get-go, so not like from date one, but I will say, like, I'm an emotional person. I'm extremely self-aware to the point to where it's kind of annoying for myself sometimes, but
Yeah.
it's and I'm sure you can relate, but it's like,
Yes.
I'm still an emotional person. We're all still learning to be human, and I'm going to be irrational at times because I'm in my emotions. And so it's like, I'll tell them, literally, all I need you to do is to hold me and hug me. You don't need to fix me. You don't have to try to logic me out of this. It's not going to be rational. It's
Mm-mm.
just emotional response. I'm going to be fine in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, feed me, maybe hold me, whatever. I'm going to move on. But
Right.
that's the whole thing. And so I was in, especially my last marriage, um, he took it all as confrontation and he would shut down. And I was pushed from day one into my masculine. And I hated that. And it made him
Mm-mm.
very unattractive. It made me lose respect for him. He was very passive aggressive. He was not protective. And it's like I never had that space to be emotional, to be myself. And I remember one time we went to the Indy 500, and I never forgot this. And he was on my podcast a few episodes back, and we talked about this. But I said there was a time where he said I was never more attracted to you than I was at the race. And I said, "Do you want to know why that was?" He goes, "Why?" I said, "Because I had zero responsibility." I could be fun, flirty, and I didn't have to take care of you because I could care less what you were doing. I didn't have any kids to take care of. I had no house to clean. I had no dogs to feed. I had no things to take care of. I was free and I could
You
just
got
be
to
that.
breathe.
And that's what he fell in love with. And when I moved across country to be with him and moved in with him, I was immediately put into taking over for his mother did everything for him. And so he just expected me to pick up that slack. And like a fool, I did, you know? And so he was my greatest teacher. I'm so grateful for him because he was such a big catalyst in my healing journey. But nowadays, I look at that when I'm dating and it's like, if I can't be emotional with you, if I can't be irrational with you without you taking it as a personal attack, this will
Mhm.
not work.
So let me ask you a question. And I love to play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Looking back on that relationship, had he not responded in those ways, had he offered a safe place, had he led you, had he been protective of you as an emotional being, would you have made the statement of, man, I had to go jump in as his mother and take care of everything? Or would you have been more apt to like, hell yes, I'm taking care of everything?
Um, it's a different energy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a Cancer Sun, Cancer Venus, so I'm very nurturing by general. I'm a mother
Right.
by general, but mothering is masculine, a mother is feminine. They're different.
Right.
And the way that because he's asked me something similar. And the way that I described it was, is if I have to tell you what to do and remind you constantly, like I'm mothering my son, I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to do that. But if I'm choosing to make you dinner and make you a little treat and nurture you and take care of you and you appreciate it and you receive it, that's
Mm-hmm.
different. That's
Yeah.
different.
The
So
appreciation and then the receiving is
yeah,
huge.
it's a fine line. You can do the exact same things, but when they are not because you have to, it's because you feel safe and appreciated to do so
Yes.
versus feeling like you have to. And I always tell men, I said, women do not want to nag. That is the least thing they want to do. They freaking hate it. But if they're nagging you, they still love you because they're trying to get you. I'm like, and how do you think they feel? Because they're like,
Mm-hmm.
why won't this motherfucker listen to me? Like how many
Yeah.
times do I got to tell you that I can't stand it when you do this? It irritates me or whatever the story may be. You're not listening to me. You're not receiving me. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's a fine line there. Um, but everything happens for a reason. And as much as I would have loved for that relationship because to be different, it wasn't. And it was exactly what it needed to be because it didn't heal me, but it did heal me.
It
It,
propelled you.
it smacked me in the face about 55,000 times with every pattern I wasn't looking at for the last, with all three marriages. Like, look at this, Johanna, look at this, Johanna, look at this. Just kept hitting me in the face until I was like, I woke up one day and I was like, I get it. I see exactly what I did, why I called this in, why I chose him. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of it came from childhood. Like I was neglected as a child. I was abandoned. I had to take care of myself and my siblings from a very young age. I didn't have a normal childhood. I was a mom very early on in life. And I was taught to be in my masculine and to take care of everyone and put myself last. And that pattern just repeated itself through all my marriages, and as soon as I realized that, I was like, fuck, I can't do this anymore. I just have to take care of myself and choose me. And then I will attract the partner that will choose me also. They'll also choose themselves first too, right? We'll be taking care of
Right.
ourselves and each other. It's different. It's 100-100. It's no more of this 75-25 or 50-50 nonsense.
Right.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
it needed to be that. And even in my third book that I just finished writing is about finding and choosing myself. And the dedication is to my freaking ex-husband.
That's that's rad. I love that. That's beautiful. I mean, and I find that even looking back, you're right. I don't. The most toxic relationships that I've been in have been like, thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
so much. Like literally thank you. Because had I not experienced that or not seen myself through that lens, I would not be doing what I'm doing right now.
exactly.
If I had my, if I was an ostrich with my head in the sand, I wouldn't be here. So
Right.
thank you for ripping that scab off of my soul. Like it literally is a blessing.
Yeah. It's painful shit though, man. And my ex-husband, he has said over and over again, and he's grown a lot since our divorce. And him and I are good friends now, but
Hmm.
He said multiple times, like, I don't want to change. I don't want to do the work. And I used to fight him on that and be pissed. And then now I look at it and I'm now, and anybody who doesn't want to do the work, I'm like, go ahead, go live your life with your head in the sand. I don't care. I know that this
Hmm.
work is like a 40-hour a week full-time job to heal yourself. It is
It
not for the weak.
well, and it also too, once you start, you have no choice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
once you
like
start, you can't go back.
no, you can't unlearn things about yourself, and you
Uh,
can't unlearn. I mean,
Once the denial's broken and you can't unsee it anymore.
right? You will start to mirror in everything.
Hmm.
You know, you'll see something and you're like, God, man, I can't believe that. Oh shit, that's part of me.
Hmm.
Right. You know, like why did that seeing, this couple at a restaurant act that way? Like, well, because you've done that, you've felt that, you've been
Yeah.
that, right? Like you just start mirroring, and even things that are abstract, and you're like, oh, why did Bill in accounting do this? And you go, oh, I bet you he's feeling this way. It's 24 hours a day. Like
Yeah.
once you get on the path, it's nonstop. And growth isn't linear. We all know that. Everybody gets derailed.
It's a
I took
spiral.
a 4-year hiatus into toxicity
You got
and
to go round and round
got
sometimes.
round and round. Like, yeah, it was a 15-round heavyweight fight. And,
Yeah.
and I came out with, a couple new scars and a lot more clarity
Yeah.
of who I am and where I'm going and what I want to do in the world. And that's honestly where elemental mail came from. I want to give people the tools that took me 12 years to learn that I'm still mastering. It never stops.
Yeah. It doesn't. And we're always, and that's why I always tell people, like, some people will put me on a pedestal and I'm the queen of transparency. I will tell people how far fell and what I did to
Yes.
climb back out. And a lot of time in the beginning, I used to get a lot of shit for it. And I felt a little shame for it, like, oh, I'm doing something wrong. And then I was like, no, you know what? There's no one in the coaching industry doing this. Everybody's showing the roses and butterflies. But this is not sustainable. People need to see the fucking mess. And
Yeah, and it's
they have
fake.
to. And I always say, like, when I always tell people who are looking for a coach, I said, you don't, or even a therapist, I said, you don't want someone who hasn't walked through the trenches.
No.
If they haven't walked through the trenches and they've just learned something, that shit is useless. It needs to be embodied through them walking through the fire. And I'm willing to continuously walk through the fire and stand up in the ashes and rebuild myself over and over again. Not for you. I'm doing it for me, but I'm going to show you that I'm
Yeah,
doing it.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, here's the thing, like my definition, when I started doing elemental mail, and I was looking actually, you know what? It was for myself. It just happened to be at that time. I was looking for like a definition of healed,
Yeah.
right? There is none.
Well, I think we're already healed. We're not broken.
No, yeah, we're not broken, but
We're
like,
just stripping away all the fucking programming and masks that
yeah,
aren't us.
but check this out. So if you go to the gym every day for a year, right?
Yeah.
The minute you say you're fit, guess what? You're going to quit, right? You work your ass off and you build an empire, and you sit down one day and you have a cognac and a cigar and you go, I'm rich. Guess what? You just quit.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the same thing with growth and happiness. Nah, I won't say happiness, because I believe happiness is a decision. I've literally witnessed people just go,
Oh,
fuck it, I'm gonna be
100%.
happy.
Yeah,
Right.
100%. I've seen some very
Um,
happy homeless people.
right, exactly. But with healing, like, you're never healed. It's the path. It's the path that's awesome. There is no destination. As soon as you give yourself a destination, you quit.
Yeah, it's
Right.
it's a lifelong journey. It's a
It's a lifelong
lifelong.
journey. So, like, my definition that I came up with, because I needed one, I needed something to wrap my mind around. My definition of healed was, can you function as an adult?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Can you be happy most of the time? Okay, cool. Are you able to not have your shit bleed on people around you?
Yes.
You're healed. Great. Now let's get better.
Yeah.
you know?
Mine is, can you be authentically you 100% of the time? If you feel like you have to be around somebody and put on a mask or dim your light or
Yeah.
people please or any of those things,
Hmm.
you have more work to do.
Hmm.
And I feel like that in itself is a loaded statement because today I'm more authentic than I've ever been, but I'm
Right.
still stripping away things because as I meet people, as I step into situations, I'm like, oh, hey, there's a mask here. Oh, look, another piece of programming. And so
Yeah.
it's a process of unlearning and discovering. And I was fucking, it took me good 3.5 years to find myself
Right.
after my last marriage because not just because of him, but because I was 43 years buried deep into shit that I never was. I was constantly looking
Hmm.
to other people to be who do I need to be? Who do I need to be? And from childhood. And so I have come to the conclusion for myself that it's about identity. It's about you
Hmm.
authentically being you and not giving two fucks what anybody else thinks.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I will take a person that's an absolute piece of shit, but they're being authentic over somebody that is great, but they're fake as hell.
Yes, so we have a friend in our friends group, and I'm not going to say his name, but he's a man-ho, and
Yeah.
I mean, he is. We love him. He's some damn good looking candy, but
Hmm.
he's got his traits, and he's very wounded. He's a fearful avoidant, but he owns it 100%. And because he owns it, we all dig him because he's not
Yeah.
trying to be something that he isn't. He's very
Right.
honest about who he is and what he's willing to do and what he's not willing to do. And
Yeah.
then the people who come in and they say one thing, but then their actions show another, I'm like, no, that
Yeah.
ain't it.
And I yeah, no, I get it. And that is where here's the thing, when you're doing that, you know it. Like when you're living out of alignment with yourself,
Yeah.
you know it. You
And
just
people slip out. You slip in and
you
out of
do.
alignment. No one's perfect.
Right. You
Yeah.
know, I have an enormous ego, but when I'm acting out of ego, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't
Mm-mm.
feel right. My
No.
decisions, like, but I'm self-aware enough to know that my ego, that's my mask, that's my persona.
Yeah.
I was a paid musician, right? Like getting on stage, that was my persona, that was my mask. And then when you start to, like you said, peel stuff back, like, okay, cool, I'll be out in public and I'm actually antisocial. As much as
Yeah.
I talk and as much as like that is my skill set, I'm kind of like, I'm like most Leos, right? We're gregarious and we're out there, but we would really rather just fall back.
You're
Like
a
we would.
Leo?
Oh yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, I love Leos. Leos
I'm
are so
Leo
much
upon
fun.
Leo upon Leo.
Leos are a blast. I love
Yeah.
Leos.
Well, we're fiercely loyal. Like literally, if you went down the list of Leo, like that is me.
Yeah.
Everything. And again, back before I started to really kind of dive into things, right? I would look at it and be like, oh yeah, coincidence, right? Like anybody, I'm applying
I don't believe in
those traits.
coincidences.
Yeah, there is no such thing as
No such
coincidence.
thing. Never.
It is um everything and every moment of your life. It's not planned. It is not planned, but it is purposed.
Yeah.
It is absolutely purposed. And
I do feel some things are destined.
well, I mean, so do we want to dive in there?
We don't have
Um,
to, but I do. I just wanted to say,
no, yeah, I mean, we totally can.
and
It's just,
destined and planned are definitely different, right? Destined is
yes.
something that because destined doesn't mean it's happening on a certain day and time necessarily. It just means it was the right timing for something to happen, right? It was you were in alignment with such said thing. It was a destined opportunity.
See, I'll go deeper. I firmly believe in soul contracts.
Oh yeah, I 100% believe in soul contracts.
Like we came here with a purpose. There are people that we were supposed to interact with.
Yeah.
And if we don't get it done in this life, guess what? We're doing it all over again.
Yeah.
Right.
I can meet somebody and look them in the eye and know that I've
And
had
no,
multiple lives with them.
yeah,
And my sister-in-law, who I live with, I know she was my mother in another lifetime. And so it's just those things like, but I mean, I've been doing this work a long time of reading, reading people. So I'm able to do that pretty quickly. But yes, 100% soul
yeah.
contracts are a real thing.
Yeah, it's so funny. The first time that I like sat down for like an Akashic read, um, I was told at the time that in a past life, I was the father of my, at the time, my current partner. And I was like, okay, no. Because that was like my first like exposure to it. I'm like, I gotta
That
go.
wasn't the best first exposure, I don't think.
But so the funny thing is, though, and this isn't relationship, I started to think about it because like there was a laundry list of, well, you did this and this is and this and that and this and this and this and this is why. And I'm like, holy shit, that all makes sense.
I can see how that could be a thing.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay, that's where that resentment comes from. Oh, I did that. Oh, okay. Yeah, it was pretty gnarly, but then like you digest it, and then you're like, I need another reading because that was pretty helpful.
Yeah.
you know.
So let's wrap this up on a
Okay.
topic of this. And we could probably go both ways, but
Mhm.
I obviously my audience is more female, though I do have a lot more men starting to come to me.
Right.
So for the females,
Hmm.
what is, because here's what happens. Most of the females that I work with, they are going through their awakening. Their husbands think they're fucking crazy off their rocker, right? They don't
Hmm.
understand anything. What do you what if you have anything, do you suggest how women can speak to their man, whether it's disarming them or communicating to them? What are some tips that you could give them to help men step more other into their masculine, or to create a safer space for them, or just to, like, to help women kind of open that door of communication to where it's not so, because women, we're not good at talking. Like, this is why male coaching is such an important thing. You speak in
Yeah.
analogies, and you have a different way of speaking, and when women, we don't really do that. So what are some ways that women could approach men differently? Do you have some sayings or some
Yeah.
things that you
So
could give them?
I have a whole thing that I do on communication. It's difficult and it's counterintuitive and it's super in depth, but like from a relationship standpoint, and I'll address your question more directly as soon as I get this out. Um, if you and I are in a relationship and you are here to communicate to me, right? My sole purpose is not to defend my stance. It's not to agree with you. It's to sit and listen until you feel like I understand you. Not until I feel like I understand you, until you feel,
Feel
right? And so
heard.
it's so hard. It is
Yeah.
so hard because we're taught to go quid pro quo, right?
Right.
And we end up
Uh-huh.
interrupting each other. We don't mean it, but you want to start a fight out of a conversation, interrupt somebody, right? It's like that. All of a sudden, all the prickly quills are all out.
Or
But then,
dismiss their feelings.
oh, absolutely. So if you can develop that practice, and it takes a lot, it really does. And it's like a muscle, you have to exercise it. But the flip side of that coin is that your partner's sole purpose in that should also be to simply understand you. I don't have to agree. I don't have to, but I'm not going to make your statements invalid. I'm not going to fight them. I'm going to listen. I'm going to absorb them, and then I'm going to say my piece afterwards. Right? Like literally, if you take that quid pro quo and just make it 30 minutes as opposed to 30 seconds or 3 seconds, right? All of a sudden, we're listening to each other and we're communicating, and everybody feels seen and everybody feels heard, and we're not arguing. How do you? How what would I say to women that want to communicate more effectively with their men? Um, it's really, really hard, Johanna, and you know this, that it takes two.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you can do
But do you have
um
like disarming things that you could say that would get a man to just understand that, hey, I just need you to listen, or it's like, it's not personal. And like I was saying, like when sometimes we're irrational, is there ways to, is there state, and and if you have a resource somewhere, like if you have this blogged out somewhere, we can reference that as well. But I just didn't know if you had some disarming statements that would help women to communicate what they need from that man.
Jason Gaddis wrote an amazing book on this, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, like I would recommend and it's either getting to zero or getting back to zero. I'll email you the link afterwards,
Okay.
but I've read this book 3 times. It's like, it's an amazing book. But disarming statements, no, like literally okay, so I've noticed that like people in our space in coaching or healing, whatever it is, they speak in a different vocabulary.
Yeah.
So it's really, really hard. So one of the things that like I will do, and I've had people around me like adopt this as well, is like the ready to share, ready to receive statement.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not in this space, that's really cumbersome though. You know what I mean? But you'll see if you went through my phone, there's a million text messages that like, hey, you're dealing with this. I'm ready to receive if you're ready to share. Right. But to put that in a more practical, like relationship type thing is that have a respect for each other's space. Don't force communication. You know, that is the thing that shuts men and women down when it's like, you know, not to get off, but like typically relationships are going to be structured with one avoidant and one anxious, right? And we're just triggering the shit out of each other back and forth. And it's like, no, I don't want to handle it now. Yes, we're handling it now. No, I don't want it. Right. Respect each other's space. Communicate out of from a space of love, not from a space of need. Okay, here's one. That's a business principle, right? And men understand this. Like if I go into a business deal in a negotiation, I am never going in a space of need.
Yes.
Like I don't need your money. I don't need this deal, right? So from the feminine standpoint, like often you guys will communicate from a space of need. I need you to receive this, right? That's pressure immediately.
And men do not do well with pressure.
we don't. We're, that's the thing. We're babies. We're children. We really are children.
Yeah.
Until we really look into ourselves and say, hey, I'm going to ascend past that. Like, but our interactions, me and my friends together at the locker, we're children. Yeah. Like it. So yeah, the pressure and all of a sudden, but again, hey, back to what we were talking about when we first started the podcast here, that, hey, if you're triggered, go out back and handle it. Right.
Yeah.
It's the pressure. We're not taught how to handle, we're the pressure of the big game. Great. Yeah. The pressure at work. Great. But like
so what does it look like for a woman if she's not like, what does it look like to not go into it needing?
It's a different answer for, and I think this goes to attachment styles. Again, it's a different answer for an anxious and it's a different answer for an avoidant. So, I think you almost have to know what your partner's attachment style is and what that entails as to how you're going to approach it. So,
which is not easy. That's not easy to diagnose.
It's and it's not easy and it's not static.
I'm a fearful avoidant. So I swing between avoidance and anxious as a
I'm so glad that you said swing. Yeah. That's exactly where I was going.
A fearful avoidant is both a anxious and avoidant, and we can switch it in the same 60 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so like I believe it was Stan Tacton that said that attachment styles are like waves, and we will have 2 primary locations that we'll go back and forth. And I'm probably butchering it, but that's a 30,000 foot view. So, a lot of people will like, I'm an anxious attachment style, but I'm a secure waving to anxious.
Right? Are you anxious preoccupied, or do you know? Usually a traditional anxious is anxious preoccupied.
Right. Yeah. I am an anxious preoccupied. So like in my growth pattern, like I had to discover like, oh, there's a shit ton of codependency. There's a shit ton of not being seen. There's a shit ton, that's that big persona. You know what I mean? Like, hey, where did that come from? Well, fuck, I was never seen as a child. Right. Yeah. Like, so I just got a bigger and bigger personality and bigger and bigger, so, And
then you have the dismissive avoidance.
Right.
Those are fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And oddly enough, we always end up together.
Yeah, exactly.
There's like, I mean, there's reasons for it, right? It's the subconscious mind choosing our original wounders and hoping they're not going to wound us again.
Yeah, everything is based upon reconciliation of your childhood. Honestly, all of
It
it,
is.
everything is just trying, it's recreating every relationship, every situation is
Mhm.
recreating a similar thing to your childhood, giving you an opportunity to reconcile it. And the key is that you're the one who gets to reconcile it. It's not
Right.
reconciling it with somebody else. And so
Well,
I like the fact that you said that the woman should not need their partner to receive or need them to listen or whatever, because
mhm.
that in itself is pressure, that is attachment, and men should generally do turn around and run the other way when they feel that pressure.
Right. Right. And then it gets back to like, hey, now you're forcing her back into your masculine
Mm-hmm.
and to her masculine, where, that's not where she wants to be.
No.
That's not where you're, and I'm not saying I won't even use the term woman, but like that's the feminine does not want to have to come out of the masculine or come out of the feminine and into the masculine for an extended amount of time. Now we will wave, right?
Yes,
There's going to be moments, in
exactly.
fact, I preach like you have to have, if it to be a complete man, you have to be soft and loving and caring and
Yes.
kind and be
Gentle.
an absolute killer.
Yep.
Because if you're not all of that, you're not there yet.
I want, and I've had this experience. I want a masculine man who can lead, but he treats me like I'm a damn baby, like he babies me. Because the
The
stronger the woman, the more she needs to be babied. I'm just going to tell you right now. I'm a very
oh, I
strong
know.
female. I need to be babied the shit out of.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And it's it doesn't have to be overt. That's the thing that's where like I don't like the social media stuff, Johanna, because there's smart people that are pandering to people that haven't been exposed to it, and they just dip the tip of the pen in the ink and they don't
Yeah.
go into it, right? So you get a lot of men and women that are overcompensating to be overly masculine or overly feminine, or
Yeah.
you know or worse, the like the extreme stoicism, which is a bunch of bullshit. We are tribal. We are supposed to relate to everything around us. And stoicism in itself is very masculine. But the core of stoicism, not the shit they're putting out on the internet where, bottle up your feelings, man, don't do nothing, nose to the grindstone. That's a bunch of bullshit. That
Yeah.
is just perpetuating it is perpetuating all the shit that it's giving our kids the same problems that we grew up with. And
Yep.
here you go, it's more shit.
Yeah.
um it's the same of like that, and I don't ever mean to offend anybody, but like the I don't need a man. Yes, you do. Not for any particular reason, but that's what we're designed to be.
Yeah.
Like, again, like for me, I do not heal with masculine energy. I'm supported, I'm strong with it. I feel that brotherhood, but for me to heal, I need that
Yeah.
feminine. I need that safe, soft, warm, because this is the ironic part that nobody
Yeah.
really figures out is we're providing the same shit for each other,
Yeah.
right? Like
We need
I
each other.
we need each other,
And I always
and
tell people this too, because and I've said it, and in my defense or women's defense in general, like I feel like in today's world, you really don't necessarily need a man, but I want a man because I don't want to do the manly things. I want to
so
be a woman. I want to be soft in my feminine. Now I will take care of myself as long as I don't have one,
yep,
but I'm also the queen of you can't heal relationship trauma without being in a relationship. Now, you can do all the healing you
100%.
want, and you can do it with friends and you can do it with family, but it's a different level of intimacy when it's with a romantic partner. It just is. And that's the level, that's the thing that we all need and that will heal us the most is you have to have those experiences. And anytime anybody says any different, I'm like, whatever, that's your way of protecting yourself.
It is
But
exactly that.
but you know, I've channeled it a million times. You need that, like that intimate romantic relationship is meant to be the biggest catalyst and the biggest healer.
And the biggest mirror, it shows
Yeah.
you what you have to work on
Yeah. That's the
constantly.
catalyst.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
you
So
know?
another thing that I want to say with this is because I asked you about the what woman can say to a man. What I tend to try to teach women is this. When you are speaking to anyone, prefer, generally to men, but in general, is to speak from a space of accountability and ownership. So saying,
Yeah.
I received what you did this way. I saw it through my mind. I saw it this way.
Hmm.
I interpreted it this way. Whatever it is, it's about you saying, I took what you gave me and how I processed it was X, Y, and Z. Because what that
Hmm.
does is it takes a lot of men don't like to feel like they're responsible or they feel like they're the problem. And it's not necessarily that they're the problem. Yes, they could have behaviors or say things that maybe are that were triggered or whatever. But by simply saying it back to them, like, hey, when you said this, this is how I interpreted it. I feel like that is disarming for a man, in my opinion. I don't know if you would agree.
Yes. Yes, and then in fact, that was exactly what I referenced in the beginning of the podcast,
Yeah.
the I statements and
Yeah.
communication. So, um, here's the thing: I did a coaching session with one of my business colleagues, right? This was like 6 or 7 weeks ago, and he and I have a business relationship. So I chose to. We were talking about communication, right? And I was trying to show him I statements. And it's so funny that we are geared to receive negativity, right? So what you just said is so powerful. Don't come into any high value relationship communication laying blame, right? Don't attack.
Yeah.
We don't need to attack. That's super valuable. But what had happened? Like this guy and I have history, and I was trying to teach him my statements, and I go, okay, listen, I'm going to give you two statements, I'm going to mock a phone call, and I want you to tell me which one you respond to more. And it was very simple. And I go, I'm going to change his name, but I go, hey Zach, you never answer your goddamn phone when I call you. You're a disrespectful son of a bitch. Call me back, right? End of statement. And I said, okay, feel that. And then I go with him and I go, hey Zach, when you don't answer the phone when I call, I tend to feel, right? So I jumped right into the I, right? I feel
Yeah.
like you're not respecting my time. I'm making it about me, right? I feel like, you don't value my input. I feel like, this relationship isn't a two-way street, right? And so I ask him, I go, well, which one did you get more affected by? And he goes, oh, the first one. I go, you did? He goes, yeah. I go, well, why? He goes, well, I know you're pissed and, you know, like it was really clear. I go, well, how'd the second one make you feel? He goes, it made me feel like shit. I go, so you're wrong. You were affected more by the second one and you were less triggered. So my message that I was trying to get across without attacking you, making it about me, was just received.
Yeah.
And he goes, holy shit, you're right. Like even hearing that made me feel bad. And I go, but you were drawn to me attacking you. He's like, yeah, you're right. I'm like, what? How did we get here? Right? How the hell did we get here? Like you just told me attacking you was better. And but it opened the door for him. To
Yeah.
him it was better because he could just go, he's just being a dick. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we do. So when somebody, even the closer you are, the more we're going to react, unfortunately. Right. So
Yeah.
when that attack, we're going, she's in one of her moods. Right. Try I statements. Like you're right on with that. Like it's
Yeah.
so powerful.
But this takes mindfulness. You have to be present with yourself. You have to be
Yes.
aware of what you're hearing, what you're feeling in your body, and what you're about to say. And so, one of my favorite tricks is to teach people when someone's talking to you and you're feeling triggered, put your tongue to the roof of your mouth because that will stop you from opening your mouth and spewing something out that you shouldn't be spewing out because you're going to be reactionary. And
Yes.
then when they're done talking, count to 10. and take a breath and say, this is when, if you can't process in that moment, you say, you know what, I'm going to come back. I need like 5 minutes, but I will come back. It's very important. They need to know you're going to return. So say, I will
Yes.
come back. I'm going to take 5 minutes. Because for me, I'm someone I have to process. I'm not quick-witted all the time with what is happening. I have to. I'm an overanalyzer. I like to see
Right.
things from 85 perspectives.
Right.
So um, I always have to excuse myself. And then there's times when I'm ready. I know right away, and I can say, "Listen, what I heard you say was, and this is how I interpreted it." And I always take it a step further, and I always say, I know you probably did not mean for it to come off that way, but that's how I'm taking it. Is that how you meant it? Like and most of them, oh no, no, that's not how I meant it, and they'll rephrase. And then there's times where damn well they did, and it gives them a chance to fucking turn that
Right.
shit around.
Right.
But this takes a level of mindfulness and self-awareness that a lot of people don't have. And so what I want to say to kind of conclude this is number one, as we've talked about, we're all learning to be human at the same time.
Yes.
Ain't nobody fucking perfect. Don't try to be. Don't try to
Right.
be something that you're not. Two,
Right.
practice makes perfect. So apologize when you're out of line. If you're not prepared, with if you can't speak what you need to speak, excuse yourself. Say you're going to come back. Take 5 minutes. Gather your thoughts. Take some deep breaths.
Show
Um,
up when you say you are.
show up when do what you say what you mean,
Mhm.
all of those things, but it just takes practice. But the most thing that both parties can do is fucking be present.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
out. And here's what I'll tell you: if you're in your head trying to come up with a comeback while that person's talking, you are not being present.
No, that's the thing. We are taught to communicate, to respond, not to receive. It is bullshit the way that we communicate as human beings in 2025.
Yeah.
And you're right, it takes practice, it takes training. It's a muscle. Communication,
Yep.
relationship, it's a muscle, and you have to work it out or you're going to atrophy. It just, you said some really powerful stuff that really resonates with me, and it's stuff that I'm teaching parallel, a little different twist, right?
Yeah.
But just those communication things, if more people were to implement them, how many marriages would be saved?
So many.
How many marriages would be saved if I learn to listen to you, to understand you. I don't have to agree with you. I don't have to comply with you.
Yes.
I'm not giving in. I'm not giving my power up. You're not giving your power up. Hey, I fucking understand you. And guess what? No matter what, I'm going to be here tomorrow and I'm going to love you through all of this
Yeah.
because I've chosen you.
Yeah.
Right. So why the fuck do I want to sit there and pick at you and tear you down? And guess what? What I'm going to do, what you're going to do when we start getting there, you're going to attack the shit you love the most. I'm
Yeah.
going to attack the shit I love the most. The stuff that you were prideful on in our relationship, that's what I'm going after. Because
Yeah.
we're in a primal, we let ourselves go primal,
Yeah.
you know? And
And it's
it,
natural.
it is, but with the right training and the right repetition, you can bring
Yeah.
yourself out of it, or you can lower the severity of it. I don't want to be in a relationship where there are not conflicts. Conflicts are an opportunity for
For
me
growth.
to like grow personally, for you to
Yeah.
grow, and for that third entity that should be completely taken care of all times, the relationship to
Yeah.
grow. Right.
Yes.
So yeah, absolutely amazing speaking with you tonight. Like, definitely resonate on a lot of things together.
Well, tell people where they can find you and where they can send their husbands.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So the website is www.elementalmalecoaching.com, and since I'm a very simple mind, the the IG is Elemental Male Coaching, and the Facebook is Elemental Male Coaching.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love consistency. It's a great thing for me.
I lucked out. I was like, God, I hope I'm going to be able to get it on all three
Uh,
platforms. I even got it on TikTok, but that's not that great.
are you on TikTok?
I am. Mm-hmm.
I am going to link all of his socials, his website, everything in the description box below of the podcast. So if you guys are interested, you want to follow him, learn more, please do so. Do so there. We are wrapping season 2. I think there's one more episode after yours, but I will actually be in San Diego in October. And so I think it would be fun to do an in-person podcast collaboration for season
Yes,
3.
absolutely. Would
Yeah.
definitely. And I've got facilities where we can make that happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good. I was going to ask you, do you know any podcast places out there that we could hook up into?
Yeah, I mean, the being in the music space, I have access to a lot of studio space, and
Yeah.
then the corporate world. Honestly, I just got large conference rooms we can use.
Awesome.
Yeah, we can
I'm
do
down.
it's handled.
It's handled.
It's handled.
But we'll definitely come together again. And so yes, I'm so glad you came on. I'm so glad we were able to get you on season 2. And I feel like
Yeah.
we have so much more that we can tap into and talk about. So I'm really excited to
Yeah.
collaborate some more.
Well, this is my first podcast, and the thing that I loved
Really? I
about it.
popped the podcast cherry.
You did. I'm no longer a podcast virgin. The best part about it is that there is so much that like we kind of and we're like, oh, we got to stay back. There's so much that we can dive into. I mean, yeah, I'd love to explore deeper with you. This has been an amazing experience.
Yay! Awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, you guys know where to go if you want to follow Josh. And Josh, thank you again for being on the show. And for everybody else, I will see you in the next episode. Hey, thanks for listening. This episode was brought to you by JohannaBurkhardt.com, where it's time to defy the limits of your mind and step into your multidimensional mastery. Don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. See you next time.